Let's look at the comparison between the new path tracing in F125 versus ray tracing. First I'll show you a compilation of gameplay and then I'll give you a few thoughts on what I think. I'll also show you my graphic settings in case you're struggling to find a good balance. So one thing that I've noticed with just ray tracing turned on is the cars kind of appear like they're floating on the surface. So if I pause it, if you look where the tyres are, it just looks a little bit unnatural. If we put path tracing on, it looks a lot more realistic. If we look at this side by side, this time at a night race, you still get that floating appearance of the cars, but in the shadows, it just seems too dark. So if we look at the back of the car in front, if we put path tracing on, we get some of that detail back and it just looks a lot better. When you get to a day race with clear conditions, you kind of lose the difference between ray tracing and path tracing. So if you look at all three side by side, this 2025 game is doing a really good job because there's hardly any difference between ray tracing, path tracing, or both turned off. So these are the settings that work for me. They allow me to get 60 frames per second comfortably with path tracing and ray tracing turned on. I don't need to use frame generation, but I do have DLSS on performance. And here are my graphic settings. The main things that I turned down were crowd, trees, skid marks, and quality of hair. I also turned off variable rate shading. If you have any questions about settings or setup, just let me know and I'll do my best to help.